Have you ever slipped on a wet bathroom floor and almost fallen? But when the floor is dry, you walk normally. Why? Why can you walk easily wearing shoes on the road but struggle to walk on ice? And why do football players wear shoes with spikes? Have you ever noticed the rough pattern on the car tires? Why are not tires smooth? Imagine a car moving fast. If there was no friction between the tires and the road, would it stop when we press the brake? Okay, now rub your hands together quickly. Do you feel heat? Where does that heat come from? Try pushing a heavy box or table at home. At first, it's very difficult to move, but once it starts moving, it becomes a little easier. Why? All these situations sleeping, walking, braking, heat productions, pushing objects are connected by one visible force, and that force is called friction. Today, let's understand how friction works, why it sometimes helps us, and why sometimes it makes things difficult. So, hello everyone, welcome to my science diary. In today's video, we learn about the friction in simple and easy language. What is friction and why does it slow object down? How does it help us walk and stop vehicles? We also understand lubrications, ball bearings, and tire treads and ice skating examples. So, what is friction? Friction is a force that slows down the moving objects. Whenever two surfaces touch each other, the friction acts between them. For example, when a child slides down a slide, what helps the child slows down instead of flying off? Yes, friction. Friction acts between the child and the slide. Even if the slide looks smooth, the friction is still there. So, friction is a force that acts between the two surfaces in contact, slows down the moving object. Even if surface looks smooth under a microscope, they are rough. The tiny bump rub against each other and create the frictions. Like when I rub my hands together, what do you feel? Heat. That heat is caused by the friction. All right, now let's understand how friction happens. We will see why it occurs and what causes it when two surfaces touch each other. Friction happens when two surfaces touch and rub against each other. For example, when you walk, the ground and the shoes rub, and that rubbing slows you down. Or when you slide a book across a table, the friction makes it come to a stop. Even though the surface might look smooth, they have tiny bump that create this rubbing force, which we call friction. That is why you need to push the object to make them move. You must overcome that friction. How do we reduce the friction? Let's understand with some examples. In machine, we use lubricant like oil or grease to make the parts move smoothly and reduce the friction. Or have you seen cyclists apply oil or grease to their bicycle chains? They do that to ensure the wheels move smoothly and reduce the friction. And this process is called lubrication. So, a lubrication is all about using the substance like oil or grease to make things work better and reduce the friction. And it's important to know that the oil and grease are different. While both reduce the friction, they have different properties. Where the grease is usually a thick substance made from the oil with some other additives, it lasts for longer time and is very effective in reducing friction and preventing rust. And the oil, on the other hand, is a bit thinner and is suitable for specific part. So the cyclist typically use the oil or grease on the chain to ensure it moves smoothly with gears. Imagine your skateboard wheels. Inside there are small round balls called ball bearings. They help the wheel spins very smoothly and reduce the friction so your skateboard can go fast. So instead of sliding, they roll over each other. rolling friction is less than the sliding friction, so the movement becomes smoother and the parts do not wear out quickly. Okay, let's think about the another real life example. Have you seen how we use the talcum powder on a carom board sometimes during play? Why do we do that? We use it to reduce the friction so the coins and the striker can move much smoother and faster across the board. Now let's think about when friction can be bad. For example, when you wear the old shoes, the soles become worn out. That's because of friction with the ground. Also in machines, the friction can make the parts wear out quickly and create too much heat. However, in the icy conditions, the friction is greatly reduced, which can cause the car to skid. As you might have heard or seen in the news, this shows how little frictions can be dangerous and lead to accident, which shows the dual nature of friction. Now, very important, friction is not always bad. Imagine there is no frictions. So, can you walk easily? No, because the friction between your feet and the ground help you walk. And like the vehicles move because of frictions between the tire and the road. Without frictions, the tire would just spin only. Friction is a force that helps to slow things down. Let's understand this with an example. Now let's look at the friction in the brakes. Imagine you are riding a bike and you want to stop. So when you press the brakes, the friction acts between the brake pads and the wheel. So when you press the brake pedals, special parts called brake pads squeeze the wheels, and this rubbing, it creates the frictions which stops the wheels from turning and slows the car down. So friction it slows the things down, which is great for stopping. However, all that rubbing it create the heat. Just like when we rub our hands together fast, they get warm. Exactly what happened to the brakes? The rubbing create the heat. That's why brake pads can get very hot. Just like when you rubbing an eraser on the paper, eventually the eraser gets smaller and disappear, right? And that is called wear and tear. And because the brake pads it works so hard to stop the car, they slowly wear away and we need to get new ones. So friction can cause wear and tear. Now it's time to do some exercise to see what you have learned. So first question is if there is a thin layer of water between the blade and ice, how does it affect the friction? Hmm. When ice skater moves, a thin layer of water forms between the blade and ice. Water acts like the lubrication, so the friction decreases and that helps the skater glide smoothly. Next is why ice skates have jagged edges. The jagged edge on the skate is very important because the skates they have this jagged edge on the front of ice skate for a special reason. When a skater want to stop or make a sharp turn, they need more frictions with the ice, and this jagged edge increases that friction and gives them better grip, and these grips allow them to control their movement much better and perform the jump and stop safely. So next is why do tires have treads? Have you ever noticed the pattern on the car tires? These patterns are called the treads, and these treads help the tire grip the road better, especially when it's wet or slippery. This means the car can stop safely and not skid. So, viewers, friction is an invisible force. Sometimes we reduce it, sometimes we need it. Without frictions, we cannot walk, car cannot move, and brakes will not work. So, friction is small but very powerful.